Hello, beautiful people. My name's Kristen. Welcome to my channel. I'm so pleased that you are taking time to spend a few minutes hearing about some books. Maybe you will be inspired to go pick up one of these or one that you are reading. I usually do when I'm watching other people talk about how much they love to read. Even if I don't want to read that particular book, it makes me want to go pick up another book. And it's one of the reasons I like to share too. So I will try to hold up each book as always. So that way, if you're not interested in the particular book that I'm reviewing, you can just scroll forward to one that you would like to hear about, and I appreciate. The first one is Where the Crawdads Sing. It's by Della Owens. It's kind of blowing out the front there. But this book has had a lot of people talking about it. It's been very popular bestseller. It's been in a lot of the front of the bookstores and in the Sam's Club, Costco's, all that kind of good stuff. So I picked it up because it was on sale and thought that I would read it. When I had first originally read the summary for it, I hadn't put it on the top of my list, but it was one of those, I might eventually read it. And it's basically the story of a young girl who is in a very dysfunctional family out in swampland, and basically for quite some periods of time ends up kind of supporting herself and trying to manage life and figure out how to survive and all those kind of things that are generally pretty interesting, and I'm sure in a lot of very real sad ways actually happen to a lot of people. The dynamics of small town come into play. There is an unsolved murder case that's going kind of back in time throughout the book, trying to learn more about the characters and how they're interrelated and piece them together, which generally I really like that plot. This book for me, however, was just kind of that middle of the road, not bad, but just never really grabbed me. It was one of those that I found pretty easy to put down and just pick up later. I liked the characters, but I wasn't heavily invested in any of them. And to be perfectly honest, if you do like that kind of outdoorsy, kind of have to survive in the wild or under harder conditions, I preferred Kristen Hanna's book, The Great Alone, which is set in very rural Alaska. And so and it has a dysfunctional family that has that kind of dynamic going on too. So I might recommend that one over this one, but I wouldn't discourage somebody who was interested in reading this, particularly if you had another recommendation by somebody that you trusted, that you got along with the same things that they liked. My classics, I read 2 classics this month, which is pretty awesome for me. I read Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. I had never read this before, and I wanted to read it to hear about this romance where the debate was, some people would say it's a romance, some people would argue why it wasn't a romance, and I think this Catherine Heathcliff, he's like this orphan and she's like grown up without her parents, lost her parents, and so they have what I would consider a very unhealthy relationship. And romantic, yes, I understand their ties and their bonds, and I had to keep going to the front of the book and looking at the family ties too, because it's a little messed up. It's a little just convoluted in how everybody's connected. So I give it an A+ for interest and originality. This is the only book that this particular Bronte sister wrote. I did actually really enjoy reading the introduction to the book that talked about the history of originally thinking it was maybe one author, and then it was, all the sisters, and was it a man, and just that was very interesting. So anyway, I'm glad I read it. Not my favorite top classic, but I definitely loved it. I also read Jules Verne, Around the World in 80 Days, and if you saw my reviews for the end of last year, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was like my favorite book that I read last year. I just loved it as not even a classic, but just a book, period. And this was no different. I have discovered that I adore Jules Verne, and I will be looking, he only has one more novel that I know of, To the Center of the Earth, and considering he's not going to be publishing anymore, I may wait and savor that one or look for some of his short stories or essays, because I just find his writing intriguing and fascinating and so creative for back in the 1800s, this kind of suspense. And this book, I didn't want to put down. I would go one more chapter, and then it was like one more chapter, and I didn't want to put the book down. It was that good. So if you're looking for a place to start for the classics, Jules Verne, either 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or Around the World in 80 Days, I give a huge thumbs up to. I just love the style of writing. I love the characters. I just get it's great. It's definitely 5-star. I also read the third, the Nora Roberts Bridal Quartet. You know, I'm reading the fourth immediately to finish this out. I am going to get married next week, so obviously I have some more investment than a lot of people would have, but it's 4 friends who start a bridal business together. This one was about the caterer, baker, person who does all those kind of delicious things, and she falls in love with a brother. So it's that kind of trope of, you know, falling for your best friend's brother kind of situation. So loved it. It was awesome for a light, romantic little rompy read. Then I read this book, Secret Daughter. I'm going to look at the name because I'm not sure I can pronounce it correctly. It's Silpi Somaya Goda, and it is a lovely, lovely story about one mother who tragically needs to give up her daughter for adoption in India, and another mother in America who is trying to be a mother but continues to lose her babies and decides to go the adoption route and ends up obviously with this particular baby. And you see not just the story, but the whole lives of both of these women, what they're going through, their struggles. It's real, it's gritty, it's beautiful, and I just found it entirely intriguing and lovely, and just thoroughly give that one a thumbs up. Although it takes second place to the books that I read, maybe third, because I really love Jules Verne's, because this book is probably my favorite read of the month. It's called Run the Mile You're In. This is a nonfiction book. It is by Ryan Hall, who was a marathon runner in 2008 and 12. The only marathon I have ever run, and probably, well, not probably, will ever run in my life, was 2009. And so it was right in the midst of the height of Ryan Hall. And he also is just a beautiful, beautiful Christian man and father and husband, and just very inspiring every time he's come across talking or sharing anything, because he's won his races or he's on TV or he's being interviewed for all this stuff. So this, I think, is his first book, and he wrote it instead of 26 chapters, there's 26 miles, and they're all like little life lessons, and it's just told very conversationally about this is how this happened and this is where I got inspired by this. If you are a runner, this I went and bought this at the bookstore. It is in the sports section under running, but it could easily be under inspirational or Christian living. If you have any of those ties, you are going to be highly well worth your time and move to read this book. Even if you're not, one of my all-time favorite books is Boys in the Boat, the story of the crew that went to the Olympics and for crewing in Oregon. It was fantastic, and I was interested in crewing. I did actually end up, because of that book, taking crewing lessons. So you may end up running, is my disclaimer. But this is just worthwhile, very easy to read, very quick book. So loved this, huge 5 stars on that. So awesome month of reading. I said I was going to read more than 5 books. I read 6, so I met my goal. So I do hope as we get into the winter months and I get past my wedding and my renovations of my house and all that stuff, that I will have even more time to read. I prefer reading to watching TV or going to the movies. I'm just one of those quirky kind of girls. So if you would like to follow along, I would invite you to like and subscribe and to tell me what it is that you're reading, because I enjoy following along with you as well. Thank you so much. Y'all have a blessed day.